He's an Idaho guide who spends his nights designing flies that push the edge, patterns meant for fish that feed when most anglers are asleep. His creations have shown up from the still waters of Pyramid Lake to the flooded banks of the White River, each one refined through countless late-night tests and broken leaders. In this episode, we get into the mindset behind hunting trophy brown trout, why mousing fish is more about precision than luck, and how turning fly design into a business can stay fun without burning you out. This is the Wet Fly Swing podcast, where I show you the best places to travel to for fly fishing, how to find the best resources and tools to prepare for that big trip, and what you can do to give back to the fish species we all love. Kyle Glass is here to share what makes a fishery produce giants, why the smallest fly can be sometimes the deadliest, why you don't have to go giant always on the mouse patterns, and how glow lines and foam tabs that glow in the dark are a game changer for Kyle. All right, let's get into it. You can find him at trouttrapflies.com. Here he is, Kyle Glass. How you doing, Kyle?
Hi, Dave. Happy to be with you this morning.
Yeah. We're always excited to talk big flies. Today we're going to check in on, kind of mousing, tying some flies, talk about where people can pick these up, and just maybe talk about how somebody might be able to find a trophy fish or even a decent sized fish on a mouse. So yeah, man, does that sound good? What are you up to this time of year? We're in that October, November range.
All over it. Yeah. This time of year, I've completed my guiding for the year, which is mostly a summer thing over there in Arkansas on the White River. I just recently got back from a trip actually doing some conventional fishing for tuna in San Diego. And before that, I was fishing Pyramid Lake on the opener there. So,
when was the opener?
It's the 1st of October.
Oh, wow. Yeah. 1st of October. It's a different opener. You hear a lot of trout openers a lot of times during the spring. So, and now why is that? Why is it the backwards there?
So it's water temperature based. They close it from, July 1st through the end of September because the water temp at the surface gets over 70 degrees and releasing the trout gets really hard. So yeah, it's protecting those fish.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So this is going to be good. I think we're going to cover that. And then also your home water where you are now, at least, is Idaho Falls and kind of all the, big waters there, big and small, but kind of famous waters. So we might check in on that as well today. But I think the focus is going to be just, helping somebody understand how you do what you do, maybe how to fish, and all that with the big stuff. But maybe let's start there on the flies. First off, we're going to talk a lot about flies. We might not get in deep into the fly tying, but if somebody wanted to check out your stuff, where's the best place to go if they wanted to pick up some of your flies just off the top?
Yeah, so my flies, I sell them exclusively on my website, and that's trouttrapflies.com. It's honestly been a really cool project, Dave. I started out selling my flies kind of as a in-between jobs situation. I had planned to become a fishery biologist, and my internship fell through. It's like, okay, well, I need a job, and started selling some flies, and one thing led to another, and here we are.
Wow.
And, it's my only source of income, and it's great.
That's cool. Yeah, we've talked to a number of people over the years that have, the one reason I always go back to Jonathan Farmer because we fished up in Alaska together this year. But yeah, he's doing the same thing. He's up in Alaska just tying a lot of steelhead flies and, stuff like that. But
yeah, I love this stuff.
Yeah, he's full on just like you. It's pretty cool to think, in this day and age, you can make a living tying flies, right? Which is pretty cool. How does that feel for you? Because it seems like, I remember when I tied a lot for my dad in the old shop. Sometimes, I guess I never got burnt out when I was a kid, but eventually I did. How do you avoid the burnout?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm not full-time production tying anymore. I've got a lot of friends that are tying for me. Most of the flies that I sell on my website, I actually don't tie.
Oh, okay.
They're tied by other fishing guides. I've got
Smart.
a lot of, like my buddy Logan that ties a lot of the mice, and my buddy AJ that ties some of the mice, and it's a little bit here and there from a lot of different people. I'm also expanding right now, trying to get a little bit of overseas production going on some of the patterns that are a little bit simpler.
Sure.
Not as precise. That won't be the mouse flies.
Right.
Some of the Pyramid Lake stuff, some leech patterns, things like that getting an American tire to do, it's just so monotonous. It's hard.
Yeah, definitely.
So
That's cool. Well, that was a perfect answer to the question is that, yeah, you're smart and you've actually figured a way to kind of scale it a little bit, right? So you're not
Yeah,
in
yeah.
doing all the work.
Well, honestly, like for me doing this thing, it's a dream come true, right? Like for a lot of people, this would be a dream come true, and it definitely is for me. But the biggest part of my focus is trying to keep it the dream,
Mm-hmm.
right? Don't let the dream become a nightmare.
Right.
And for me, that means, not production tying 70 hours a week. And it means focusing on the parts of this that I actually really love, which is fly design. That's what I'm passionate about. I'm not passionate about, winding thread around a hook shank as fast as humanly possible. I'm passionate about trying to solve on the water problems off the water at the vise. And I just think that's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, that is awesome. And we're going to talk about fly design for sure today, kind of how some of this came to be. I also wanted to hear, the White River. So that's a place that we're going to be going to next year. We're doing an event with Project Healing Waters, and we're going to be out there fishing the White for my first time. How did you come to connect with the White? It's kind of on the other side of the country from where you are.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, you can't live in the fly fishing world without hearing the stories and all the things about the White River and its giant brown trout. There's a lot of media out there. So I always knew it was a thing, and the world record was from there for a while. I remember when that fish got caught, just thinking that this is this unbelievably large fish. It was, just under 40 pounds, which is
Jeez, 40-pound brown trout
40-pound brown trout.
on a fly.
Not on a fly,
Not
but
on a fly, right?
almost unfathomable size, and for a while there, people were catching a lot of big fish on streamers in the wintertime. They had a run of big water and there were a lot of shad coming through the dam. And so when people first kind of cracked the code on the wintertime streamer fishing, there's a lot of big fish being caught. Well, I had never even gone there. That was kind of the impression I had. I had a guide buddy, Eric Peterson, who is from Michigan, and he and I guided together in Alaska. Well, he had been going out there. My brother went out there with him. Eventually, I went out there with him, and my brother and I started doing this mousing deal. And it's kind of a niche thing.
It's pretty cool.
Never would have guessed.
I've done a little of. I did a little bit up in Alaska, and it was just so cool to see the reaction, of fish. This thing coming across the surface and stuff. So, that's really cool. So you have the White. You're down there, but you're also in Idaho Falls. Talk about that a little bit. What's your out there? Is there some places you can find some trophy? I guess trophy fish. That's always the question. What is a trophy fish? Depends on where you are and what size the fish are. But I'm assuming there's some trophy fish around Idaho Falls.
Yeah, what's interesting about the greater Idaho Falls area? It is unbelievable for fly fishing, right? Like you can catch virtually unlimited amounts of 20-inch trout. Like it really is a fantastic place. Blessed to grow up here as far as, just having access to great fisheries. As far as, for me, cracking into that next level, trophy fish, trying to catch a 30-inch fish. We had a run of years about 5 to 10 years ago where we had a lot of trophy fish in the Snake River Valley due to water and things like that. The population of big fish here is actually not as good as you might think. Now, I say that. The caveat is, if you want to catch a 20 to 24-inch trout, there might not be a better place, But if you want to really try to crack into that next level fish,
Gotcha.
it's funny because I have a lot of friends and clients from Utah, and they're like, "Oh man, there must be so many big fish up there." I'm like, "Dude, you're driving the wrong direction from Salt Lake." If you're coming to Idaho,
or what's the big river down in Utah that has those fish?
Well, I mean, there's all those still waters. The Green River has big fish.
Yeah.
So it's funny because you got all these really, really like trophy trout for the most part. It's a stillwater game.
Oh, it is.
If you want to catch a 30-inch brown trout. Now, that being said, that's why the White River's so special. It's one of the only fisheries I know of that regularly and consistently has a fishable population, not just a couple of individual fish, but a population of browns that are into the 30 inches, not just like, oh man, he edged up to 31. Like there's
Right. Or he was 28 or
36-inch
29.
trout in there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there's some big fish. So that's it. And really, like you said, I mean, you can, I think a lot of people, myself included, I'd be happy with a 20-inch fish, or 24-inch fish on a.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you're not, like you're missing out, you know?
Yeah, that's it. So, well, let's get into that a little bit, just on the patterns and the. I always like to take it to a water body, but if you were, we're going to talk plenty of trophy fish, but let's just say you were fishing, you were heading out of your door there at Idaho Falls and heading out to fish something where you can maybe catch one of those 20s. Is it like South Fork?
Yeah. South Fork's I mean, that's the first river I really guided on. Still kind of consider it my home water. It's where I learned to row a drift boat when I was a little kiddo. So yeah.
Yeah, the South Fork. What does that look like for maybe let's take it into the patterns of, I mean, what we're going to talk about today with the mousing and the flies and everything, can this apply pretty much in any place around the country?
Mousing, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, they can.
And it's funny too, because after doing mousing in a variety of places, and especially like one of the greatest things about, the selling the mouse flies is I have this built-in network of all my customers that are out kind of, breaking ground, so to speak, on mousing is a very, I want to call it new, maybe not new. It's not new. It's a poorly understood and not well explored facet of fly fishing. What I've realized over the last, 7-8 years that I've really been full speed ahead doing this is that it varies so much from place to place, but that it is almost universally productive in any place that has brown trout.
Oh, okay. So that's it. So it's the species is the big thing. You're not going to do the same thing with a rainbow trout or a brook trout.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely get them, but for me, the target's browns. I'm not motivated to stay awake all night to try to catch a rainbow.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. So and that is the difference. So let's just stick on that, and we can talk rainbows as well. But so for browns, and why is that? Why are the browns the ones? Just because they're more aggressive, they're bigger?
I mean, man, they're so hard to catch. They're so hard to catch. They're so beautiful. There's so much nuance to the pursuit of brown trout. They will undergo this transformation from a fish that eats, these little tiny Baetis nymphs to this fish that will literally eat anything that swims across the river. And what a fascinating fish. They're able to live in some shocking places, inside of some little culvert tube in a city. And some brown will get over 20 inches, get into the mid 20-inch range in a place that you don't even think a trout should be able to live.
Right. Wow.
Wow.
So they're pretty, you'd say.
Yeah, they're cool fish.
And yeah, they're cool. What is that? So as somebody's thinking here, okay, I have some browns in my stream, or I'm going to this place with browns. What are they thinking? How do they know how to set up for, fishing and maybe getting a trophy fish with a mouse?
Yeah, so this is something that I'm really big on as far as like, how do you approach trying to find a trophy fish? And let's see if I can explain it in a way that makes sense. So a lot of times I think people will say, well, where do the big fish go? What kind of hole are the big fish looking for?
Right.
It's totally the wrong question. And I think the right question is, where is a big fish going to be created, right? What sort of conditions are going to be predisposed to making a big fish, right? And so that would be, instead of trying to find a hole where a big fish can feel comfortable, right? Like, deep water and access to food and all these things. It's like, where is a spot on a river or a lake or whatever where they're just going to just inherently be big fish because they can't help it. They just grow up there. Over 6 to 8 years, like there's just going to be another big fish there. And then he's going to be replaced by another big fish and another one. And they can't help themselves because of the food source and because, the growing conditions. And I think those are really the two biggest things. It's the food availability, the type of food, and, what the year-round growing conditions look like. One of the challenges here in eastern Idaho is that we have wild temperature swings in our rivers, right? So, you take the Snake River flowing through Idaho Falls, and For about 2 or 3 months a year, we have slush ice and anchor ice, meaning the water temperature is within a degree of freezing and there's zero growth going on. And it's a stressful time for trout. It's hard for them to get through that.
Right, to survive.
So they're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
You also have probably 2 months a year, all of July and August pretty much, that the water is, if it's not 70 degrees plus, it's really close.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's hot. Damn.
So you end up with, all right, so you got 4 months off the year right there. That's not growing time. And then you've probably got a month on either side. You've got maybe 4 months of perfect growing conditions. And so the growth pattern that trout tend to undergo in that, and you see it in a lot of our fisheries out here, they get really fat. Well, what is a fat trout is a trout that's storing energy, right? Well, on the White River, this is the crazy thing about that. You would not think that some tailwater in Arkansas is the place with the most steady water temperature, but it absolutely is. Bull Shoals Lake, it stays, hundreds of feet deep at its shallowest point. They never draw it down for irrigation like our reservoirs out west.
Right.
So the temp it's stable, right? So like they'll drop down into the mid to high 40s. That's really cold. Well, mid to high 40s, a trout's still growing like crazy. And the water there never really gets above 70 degrees. It'll dip up into the, mid to high 60s. Ironically, right now is the warmest water of the entire year.
Oh, it is.
That's because they have like this, they've got this giant reservoir, and it just takes so much time to warm up the entire body of that lake that,
right.
there's a temperature lag. Yeah, there's a temperature lag.
I see. Oh, wow.
From the seasons, so.
Yeah, so it's there. So that's the difference is that, and I mean, there's other tailwaters all around the country, but that one, because it's not used for irrigation, it's just used for what? For water, for city water? Is that kind of what it is?
Yeah, there's a couple reasons they built those dams. The main one is power generation. So you'll see the crazy daily fluctuations for power peaking in that reservoir. But the other one is flood control.
Flood control, right?
They got a lot of water going through that system. So there's some historic floods that are just unbelievable.
Oh,
and if
wow.
those dams weren't there, I mean, the water level will go up by like literally 30 feet. Like it's insane how compared to what I grew up used to out west, like the amount of water is pretty impressive.
Check out Jackson Hole Fly Company today. Premium fly gear straight to your door without the premium price. Jackson Hole Fly Company designs and builds their own fly rods, reels, flies, and gear, delivering quality you can trust at prices that let you fish more and spend less. Whether you're picking up a fly rod for the first time or guiding every day, they've got what you need. Check them out right now. That's JacksonHoleFlyCompany.com. JacksonHoleFlyCompany.com. Located in Boulder, Colorado, Intrepid Camp Gear is dedicated to designing and manufacturing the best and most highly engineered automotive camp gear on the market. Intrepid Camp Gear specializes in rooftop tents and aluminum cargo cases designed for skis, rods, hunting gear, and any other gear you may be hauling. Elevate your adventure with Intrepid Camp Gear right now. Head over to wetflyswing.com/intrepid right now. That's Intrepid, INTREPID, Intrepid Camp Gear. Well, so I guess, yeah, on that track, so when you're talking fish, you're on a stream, you're looking for places where they can grow the food, the temperatures, all that. So if you were just walking up a stream or river, where do you start? If you're on, say, a new stream and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to find the biggest fish in this river, what are you looking for?
Yeah, I'm just looking for food, food, and that's going to take a lot of different forms. It's so fascinating to think about how it's different from place to place, but one of the common trends is like if you're walking up a small stream, assuming you're walking up it, it's probably a small stream. Small streams have a lot of nighttime feeding opportunities for a big fish. They really do. Because the smaller the stream, the more it is a trout that is existing in a terrestrial habitat, if that makes sense. The more opportunities they're going to have for actual mice and just all kinds of different things, frogs, bats, just who knows? I mean, terrestrial insects. One of the fascinating things that I've learned at night is just spending a lot of time out there, there are just so many more large terrestrial insects available at night. You know, big moths and beetles and, I mean, creepy crawlies. Well, the trout don't think they're creepy crawlies.
No,
They
they're all
think they're
juicy.
tasty.
They're all juicy. Is that the time? So is it usually, are you shooting for night versus daytime?
Well, not necessarily, but I mean, I think that the conversation of like what is good night habitat enters into the conversation, right? Because my assumption is like if a trout's getting big, if a brown is getting big, there's a really good chance he's doing a lot of feeding at night. So that's part of it.
Yeah, so that's it. So basically, I remember when we first had Kelly Gallup on, who's definitely known for the same stuff we're talking about. He was saying, fish where people are walking. Don't look at the deep pools. Look at those inside seam or inside corners, stuff like that. Does that resonate with you? Is that kind of the same sort of thinking where you're? Yeah.
I don't know. Probably not. I think I'm just looking for maybe the sticky point behind that comment is look in places that aren't being looked in, and maybe that means it's literally a stream flowing through town that everybody's driving past to go fishing. Well, maybe there's a bridge, right, that goes over it, and there's no deep water around, but there's deep water in this spot, and there's all this crazy stuff happening around it, and it's like, oh yeah, there's only room for one big fish. Well, that's going to be a lot of your situations for big fish. It's going to be a special situation every time. Maybe there's a spring. Maybe there's, maybe there's like a drip of like a wastewater treatment plant that dumps in, right? And so there's warm water all winter in this spot where normally, it's going to be too cold or, I mean, there's so many little special situations, but I think if there's one thing I've learned about those fish, it's that it's going to be a special situation every time. If you're going to go to the Madison River and just start casting a streamer, you're not going to catch a big fish. You're not going to catch a trophy next level fish. You got to do something special if you want to find something special.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That goes back to like any species, really. Steelhead's the kind of the same way where you're not going to, if you just cast and swing, do the same thing, you're probably not going to do as well as if you're thinking about kind of how you're fishing it, right? Fishing that fly.
Yeah, you got to do it on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're on the water, you have a spot, you think there's a likely one of these could be a big fish here. How are you setting up? Talk about that. Like, what is your gear setup, a fly? Describe that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'll dig in a little bit on the White River side of things here. So my mouse fly selection and philosophy, it's definitely changed over time, which, I hope it never stops changing because I think that means I've stopped learning. But I actually use a 6-weight way more frequently now than I used to. I used to fish with 8 weights a lot. The thought process was like big flies and big leader and all this stuff. And,
yeah,
the fly selection has changed. I've refined the fly patterns a little bit to be easier to cast. So even the flies that are on the bigger end of the spectrum, they cast well with the fast action 6-weight, whereas, the previous stuff I was throwing, it's like, man, that fly getting it 50 feet away from the boat with an 8-weight you've got your work cut out for you. I don't think that the fish are leader shy in that context. I could change my mind on that. I hope I change my mind because it means that some interesting data has come to light that I was unaware of before. But so I use like 12-pound Maxima a lot, lean pretty heavily on that stuff. It's such a great leader material. I mean, you probably use it swinging and
yeah, we do.
It's just so dependable.
Yeah.
I know what I can get away with, and it's a lot. For me, that's a big part of it. When I tie something on the end of my client's line, like I just want to know we're going to be able to get away with some pretty serious mistakes, line rubbing against the side of the boat or, going under the motor. And I mean, all kinds of crazy, chaotic things happen in the dark. So you need to be prepared for that. But, I was using 20-pound leader before and, that's all fun and games till you hook a flock of geese and it starts taking off. Now you have to break off. Yeah.
Yeah, 20 pounds, a little bit. Yeah,
It's a little aggressive.
Yeah, that's what they use up in on the Skeena for those steelhead. And I think, for two reasons, like you said, the big fish, you had a chance to catch a 30, 40 pounder, but then also all the rubbing on rocks because these fish are taking you, they're jumping here, taking a right turn and just you scraping rocks. And Maxima seems to be the best that's out there.
It's good. It's got that built-in stretch. It ties great knots. It's good stuff.
Yep, it does. It does. Cool. So kind of, and you're talking like is typically, are you just going 9-foot rod, 9-foot 6 weight, or do you go a little bit longer?
I like 9-foot rods. I really do. Everybody's got their preference. I'm not going to try to change your mind on what length of rod you should use. You can make an argument for short ones. You can make an argument for long ones. One of the reasons that I like 9-foot rods is, let's say you're, some rod manufacturer. Which rod are you going to put the most research and development into designing a good rod?
Right. That's
the 9-footer.
Yeah.
We act like some line of rods. There's like 25 different models. Well, which ones are they putting the most energy into? The 9'5", the 9'6", and the 9'8". Those are the 3 rods they're working on. Everything else is kind of an afterthought. You might buy a flagship rod from Sage. If it's the 8'6", 7 weight, there's not nearly as much, time and energy being put into designing that rod as the 9-foot version. So for me, I just stick to the 9-footers.
Okay. And so 9'6" 6 weight, you got the leader. And then what about lines? When you're fishing these, are you fishing mostly dry lines or are you doing some different stuff?
Yeah, when it comes to night fishing, I pretty much stick to dry lines. I like using, there's a line from Scientific Angler that glows in the dark, full glow in the dark. It's called the Magnum Glow. So they also have like the glow tip. Not a fan of that. For me, the most valuable part of the glow in the dark line is actually just like the head and the running line glowing. And the reason for that is like, I don't need to be able to see the line on the water as much. I just want to be able to manage it, right? The line that's at my feet, the line that's wrapped around my neck. So
yeah, keeping track of where it's at. And is that, so for you, is it on the white or mostly a nighttime, or can you do this in the daytime too?
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure thing. I mean, mousing is not effective in the daytime down here very much.
It's not. Okay.
It really is not. And that's because the whole philosophy of mousing, really, like if you were to boil it down in a nutshell, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find a fish that is unavailable in the daytime because he is predatory. And I say he because more often than not, this fish is going to be an alpha male trout with a lot of testosterone that is, just aggressive, predatory. And that behavior is contingent upon conditions. And so, if you were going to catch that fish in the daytime, you're going to catch him during a storm system when the barometric pressure has plummeted and you're fishing usually a big streamer, right? Like that's your daytime opportunity for this fish. Or, like there's some crazy hatch going on or there was a flood and there's literally a bunch of earthworms washing right in front of his face. Or there's a crazy, there's a salmon fly hatch going on and the fish is just on the bottom, just sucking nymphs off the bottom every 3 seconds. So those are kind of your opportunities in the daytime. It just has to be a special opportunity. But the easiest special opportunity is that it gets dark every night. Like the nighttime is an opportunity to get that fish more comfortable, to show him something that is a big food item and truly to imitate a food item in a way that he is used to feeding, which is, chasing something down at night and eating something big.
Wow. And are you doing this? Are you guiding guys in the night?
Yeah. So my guide business is primarily at night. It's shifted a little bit. I do a lot of daytime dry fly fishing as well on the way because, that river's just
it's got everything.
Oh my gosh. Like the hatches, the sulfur hatch specifically, the foam bug fishing. Here in Idaho, like if I was guiding to put my client on a 24-inch trout on a dry fly in the daytime is a very serious accomplishment, right? Like that's not happening very often in guided fishing trips here in Idaho. On the White River, I had 11 browns this last summer that were 24 inches or better hit my net in a under 2-month period on dries in the daytime. And that's like not even counting the night fishing.
Wow.
right? So it's like it's a really cool thing. But yeah, like most of my clients come out because they want to catch a big fish, a big fish, right? A 30-inch fish at night. And so, we target those fish in the dark hours.
Yeah, that's the game. So talk about that. How are you getting started? Is this, wait till the sun goes down before, or describe what that's like getting ready for the evening?
Yeah, so I mean, we've got a little rental house that's riverside. We have a private boat ramp, and we've got a little stairway where I can park the boat in the river, which is super convenient. I mean, the White River fluctuates. You said you haven't been out there yet?
No, I haven't.
Yeah,
No.
so it's going to blow your mind to see how much it fluctuates.
Yeah, it can go from 70,000 CFS down to.
I mean, it's okay. So this is the daily typical flow range, right? 700 CFS is the minimum flow. They really don't drop it below that unless there's something crazy going on. So 700 CFS, it will come up to 21,000.
21,000.
Right. So that's a 9-foot vertical shift.
Crazy.
So in some spots it's like 10 feet. And that's like, when you see that in person, it is actually kind of hard to believe. So the point is, that's a digression, but the river requires you to be willing to adapt to the conditions. So a lot of people are like, well, I just want to book a day. It's like, well, hold on. You need to be staying with me so that we can adapt to the conditions. We might need to hook the boat to the trailer and drive downstream because we don't have the right water conditions here. We might have to go, do this whole deal. Sometimes I have to launch up high. Even though I'm running a jet boat, I can't take out in the spot where I launch because I can't get back there because the water's literally too low.
Oh, wow.
So.
Yeah. So it's fluctuating. How does it fluctuate during the day? Is it like a slow draw down or draw up throughout the day?
Yeah, typically they'll raise the flows. It's kind of air conditioning related.
Yeah, gotcha.
So power generation, air conditioning. But I wish
there's no rhyme or reason. Yeah, this thing it could just happen. You could be out there and all of a sudden it's changing.
Oh yeah, you're just cruising along and 2,000 CFS. Well, that wasn't part of the plan. That wasn't part of the schedule they released. Okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So within a short time, you can see this thing just go you can drop feet as you're on the water.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of times we'll start out the night, and typically at the beginning of the night, the water will be higher because they were generating in the daytime. We'll start out, we're mousing banks, casting into the trees on flooded banks that are in the mid-teen range. And, by the end of the night, we're floating in the middle of the river. I'm trying not to touch the water with the oars, and we're trying to cast as far as possible because it's 2 feet deep all the way across the entire river.
Yep.
So it's wild.
And so you're doing this, and the boat you're using, is this one of those White River skiff boats, or what's the boat?
No, I mean, I think people like those. For me, the Stealthcraft Power Drifter is a better platform.
Yeah, Stealthcraft, that's right.
There really are a lot of advantages to that boat.
Yeah.
There's so many little things. I've got a lot of customized stuff. I did all the electrical myself, so I've got special lights to turn on for a variety of different things. I've got lights under the boat, so when I'm driving, I've got a remote switch. I can turn the lights on and see the water's crystal clear in that river.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
So I can see where I'm going. Even when it's foggy, I can turn the lights on and see at least where I am in the river.
Oh, so you'll turn the lights on the bottom of the boat on?
I can turn them on when I need to. I always run with my running lights. And honestly, the big thing that I want the listeners here to hear is I want you guys to know that you need to have your red-green navigation lights on if you are motoring in a river in the dark.
In the dark, yeah. Red-green, what's the red-green? The red, which one's which?
Yeah, so I mean, you've got your starboard and your port, you've got your green on. The green, if you're driving the boat, if you're looking forward, the green is going to be on your right side, the red's on the left.
Okay.
But the moral of the story is sometimes people think, oh, I can see better without the lights on. Well, that's true. It is true. You can see better without the lights on. But what if there's another guy like you?
Yeah. That's not a good.
It's not okay.
No.
So I've had a handful of close encounters in the last, 5 years where it's like, yeah, nothing makes me more mad than somebody who's taking my life into their hands by driving around in the river without without lights on.
Man, and you're cruising up the river. You're not just drifting. Sometimes you're at outboard.
Oh,
like,
yeah. I mean, we're going 25 miles an hour and somebody, yeah,
Yep.
it's ridiculous.
Comes it. Well,
So if you do it, I mean, it's a really rare occurrence to see somebody do that. But if you have plans to go out on a river in the dark, you better have those lights on.
yep. So, so on the way, you're mostly fishing out of the boat. Is that the?
Yeah, exclusively. Yeah. You know, from a guiding perspective, I can control variables if I'm in a boat. I can't control variables if I'm on foot.
Yep. Right. You're getting in the right spot, getting the person ready to make the cast.
Yeah, your feet are going to be in the right spot 100% of the time. If we're waiting, you know, it's hard for me to do that. I remember when I was guiding on the Naknek in Alaska, and have you been there, Dave?
No, I haven't been there. We've done a few episodes on it. I know it's got the giant rainbows there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a swing fishery that ruined steelhead for me.
Yep.
Well, the thing is, like when I was guiding there, I mean, I loved it and I hated it because you have to cover water to catch fish swinging. I mean, you can't just stay put. These aren't migrating steelhead. They're trout. They're
eating.
They're just sitting in pockets.
Eating eggs and everything.
Well, if you're not moving, you're not fishing, right? And so like my job as a guide was to convince my clients to keep moving. Well, they don't want to. They just want to cast their spay rods. So it's like they want to work on their cast. Okay, that's great. Like if you want to practice your snake roll, go for it. But
right, that's not the place to do it. It seems like when you're in the Naknek, you should have all your practice.
If you want to catch a trout, he's 3 steps downstream from where you are.
yeah. I'm imagining the trout is one of those rivers where I would be practicing for a lot of hours before, so I don't have to think about practicing when I get there.
That's right. Yeah. No, it's totally true.
Yeah. Okay. So you're on the water. Talk about a few of your flies that you'd be using. Are there a bunch of patterns or could you just pick one?
You know, there really are. What I've realized about mousing is it's an entire discipline, right? Like there's a whole different range of conditions, just like streamer fishing, right? It's like if you were to ask the question of like, is there one streamer? There's definitely not just one, right? Condition based.
And there's big ones and there's small ones, right? Lots of different sizes too.
Right. And there's different ways of retrieving them and, So yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of different mouse flies. The other part of my deal is that I sell all my mouse flies. They all have glow tabs that we use to tell where the fly is. We use it to tell when we get a strike. I mean, there's a ton of information that glow tab provides.
The glow tab describe that a little bit. Is that little all flies?
Yeah, so I make them out of foam.
Okay.
It's about, a half an inch tall and a 1/4 inch wide. And I charge them with a, UV torch or I have a laser that I keep in my pocket when I'm guiding. Little purple laser, and I can shine my laser on the fly and recharge it for you.
So that's for you, like the line, that's for you. That's for the angler, not necessarily that the fish is eating it.
They don't like it. Honestly, they don't like the glow. I think there are times where cutthroat actually like the glow, and sometimes where brook trout might like the glow. Browns don't like it. It's for you. And so I think the balance there is like, I don't want the fly to be glowing too brightly. I want it as little as possible, as much as I can get away with. So that being said, being able to see where your fly is and see how it's moving is a lot more of an advantage than having this, perfectly stealthy fly. I don't think it really deters them that much. So
Stonefly Nets makes nets with soul, each one handcrafted to stand out and built to last. When you spend time on the water, your gear matters, and these are the kinds of nets you can pass down for generations. I know my Stonefly net goes with me everywhere and has seen the abuse, but it seems to get better each day I'm on the water. Every net is shaped from premium hardwoods, balanced by hand, and finished to handle a lifetime of use. We all love a big fish story, but it's the moments around it that stick. Stonefly helps turn every one of those into something you'll remember. Head over to stoneflynets.com right now to see what stories you can create with this beautiful custom landing net. That's stoneflynets.com. How do you want that fly? Let's pick a pattern. Like what would be a pattern that one of your big sellers?
Yeah, so I mean, on the small end, we have my Minnie Mouse, right, which is basically no more than, it's not a mouse imitation, realistically. It's so small. It's smaller than your average chubby. And then on the large size, we have, the trap rat, which is a very large mouse pattern. And then, like the medium trap mouse would be kind of in that middle range. So
Yeah. Okay. And are these flies, some of these out there, are they all on your website or can you find these other places?
They are. Yeah, all of them are.
Okay. Yeah. So the Minnie Mouse is a little bit of a smaller fly. What does that one look like? Describe how that's designed so it fishes how you want it to.
Yeah, so that fly is a single hook. It's a size 2, kind of a stinger style hook. It's got a flat piece of foam on the top, and the hook kind of dangles down into the water. So the foam will float flush, and then it's got 8 legs. It's got a lot of rubber legs going on that create a visual profile and have a lot of movement. That fly's really all about the profile on the surface. They see that silhouette, the legs sticking out. Great thing about the Minnie Mouse is it's a small target, so people will be like, which fly is the best for a big fish? The answer to that question is whatever the smallest mouse you can convince the big fish to eat, that's the one you should use.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right? Because unfortunately, I don't know if you've ever seen like a big trout eat a fish or something like that. Like there's some videos I see on Instagram and stuff of like a bull trout eating a cutthroat or something.
Right.
Well, these browns we're targeting, they do that. But if you watch that process, a trout, unlike a lot of predatory game fish, it just does not have a mouth that's designed for swallowing big food items whole. So he's going to swim up to it. He's going to kind of chew on it. He's going to nip at it, chase it around, bite it, let it go, bite it, let it go, bite it, let it go. Well, if the fish does that to your fly, all you do is get a strike and you don't catch the fish. So the smaller you can convince a big fish to eat, the better. And that's why the Minnie Mouse is an amazing tool. I mean, let's say you have a stream or you have a lake where you know where a big fish is. If your question is, what should I throw at him? Start small, right? If he eats the Minnie Mouse, guess what's going to happen? You're going to catch the fish.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no guesswork on the hook set. They don't miss. They just swim up to the surface. They put it in their mouth. They close their mouth and you got them.
You got it. Well, and what is the smallest mouse you might start with?
Yeah, that's the smallest one I use.
That's it. So size 2, is that how small do you get
It's a size 2. I mean, it's like the fly's less than 2 inches long. It's really like an inch and a half.
Gotcha.
Like if you were to compare it to a salmon fly, smaller.
Smaller than a salmon fly.
Little smaller, yeah. It's more like round bulk, but smaller. Easier to cast than your run-of-the-mill fly shop chubby.
Yeah, I gotcha. The chubby, right? And then when would you go up to a larger fly, and when do you fish the bigger stuff?
Yeah, so like on the White River, I will frequently use bigger flies than that, and it's typically related to flows. The higher the flow, I'll frequently use bigger flies. And that holds true. Like if I were to be mousing in Idaho, I tend to fish bigger flies because we have less water clarity in a lot of places and faster flows. Also, the less pressure to fish is, the more likely they are to eat big. And I do think there's a case to be made for using large flies to target large fish. That's not off base.
That's not a false
No, that's right. I mean, it's right. There's a lot of times where like if you want to catch a giant fish, you need to use a fly that's big enough to motivate him to move up off the bottom.
Yeah.
And to chase it.
Yeah, okay. So you've got, a fly on, let's just take the Minnie Mouse. And then when you make that cast, it sounds like you're casting into the trees or near banks, wherever you think the fish might be. What's the cast look like? And then what does the strip and all that look like?
Yeah, so really there's a lot of different ways of retrieving the fly, but it's always for me, mousing is always going to follow one key rule. And that is you need to try to get all of your strikes on a dead drift. Everything else is secondary to that goal. The reason for that is based on conversion rates. So a lot of people swing mice, that's what you do in Alaska.
Yeah, you swing mice.
I mean, what was your experience like?
Yeah, that's what we did. Yeah, it was we were casting towards, we were getting fish on other stuff, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna try this mouse thing. And yeah, we were kind of swinging it across a little bit, casting, and they were hitting it, but they were missing it a lot of times.
Okay, so there it is, right? And think about, if you think about why that is, when you catch a fish on the swing, subsurface, the reason it works so well is because the fly is in the water, right? Like it doesn't push to the side. Well, you've got a swinging fly. Now you've got all this buoyancy, you've got all this surface tension, and that is fighting the fish while he's trying to get that in his mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
So like those Alaskan rainbows, they're voracious.
Yeah,
right?
they're
Like
crazy. Right.
they will come up and hit that mouse like 6 times.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Eventually, yeah, you would catch some. We were getting some, but it was yeah, you're right. They're just voracious predators.
Well, so brown trout aren't going to hit it 6 times.
No, right.
Most of the time you got one shot.
They're not going to work that hard. They're smarter than that.
So then the question becomes like, do you really want to take your chance? Your 1 in 6 chance at a swinging. And so like, yeah, I mean, you can catch fish swinging mice and sometimes it works. Like sometimes you'll get them on the hang or, you know, in a certain spot. But for me, I am creating dead drifts in my presentation at frequent intervals, regardless of what the presentation is. The glow line helps with that. The glow tab helps with that. I want my fly, I'm almost like mending, right? Lifting the whole line up, setting it down so I get a nice little clean dead drift so that if I were dry fly fishing, I'm getting a dead drift. The presentation is like you're retrieving it like a streamer, but you want to get all of your eats like you're fishing a dry.
Yeah, so the retrieve could be is there a reason why you would do a fast retrieve and then stop versus a slower retrieve and stop?
Yeah, I fast retrieve a lot of the time. The fish are attracted to the wake of the fly. They're attracted to the movement. They're attracted to the silhouette. You know, so a lot of times it's like, you know, I'll move it either with the rod tip, you know, big lift, big high lift with big super fast strips as you're going, or you know, kind of fluttering it across the surface. Sometimes we'll put it in our armpit, the rod in our armpit, and do the fast like saltwater hand over hand. You know, really the crazy thing about mousing is there are frequently times when there is no such thing as too fast of a retrieve. You just got to be pausing. You got to be killing that fly for, you know, 2 or 3 seconds to let that thing soak long enough. So yeah, it's interesting.
That makes sense.
If you were to compare trout to other game fish too, I mean, man, a lot of fish, you'll hear people talk about, oh yeah, don't kill it, don't kill it, don't kill it, like it'll turn them off. Not trout. You can kill it.
You can, right? They like that. They like that, yeah.
They're not as keyed into that predator-prey reaction of like food items stopping. They're like, oh, what a cool opportunity. This mouse that was swimming is now stopped.
Right.
I'll eat him.
Yeah, makes it easy for me. God.
So,
and then once they do eat it, what do you do? What's your first set the hook? What does that look like?
Yeah, the hardest part, honestly, of mousing is the hook set. Absolutely is the hardest part. And the most important thing, regardless of how you set the hook, is that you have to wait for the fish to eat the fly, which is easy to say when you're, you know, talking on a podcast. It's hard to do when it's dark, you haven't had a bite for 3 hours, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and this fish catches you off guard. You hear the splash and your body just reacts. You yank. What you need to do is you need to wait for that fish to completely take the glow tab under. The glow tab just needs to be gone. And that's part of the reason the glow tab is so helpful. You know, it's with some of the larger flies, I guess it's possible for the fish to actually eat the fly without the glow tab going away. But I'll hear people say, oh, well, I wait till I feel them, or, you know, I wait. Really, like if you have the presence of mind, if you watch that glow tab, it will tell you 100% of the time when you should set the hook. The other thing that's fascinating with the glow tab, you're going to have a lot of times where you're going to see that glow tab. You're going to hear a splash and nothing happens. And you can either set the hook or you can not set the hook. Regardless of what you do, you're not going to hook that fish. And it's because you heard the splash, but he didn't eat it, right? Like trout are curious. They don't have hands, and they come up and they're messing around with it. They're doing their little refusal thing or splashing around. And if you don't have a glow tab, you think you're just missing fish. Well, you're not. They're just not eating it. And so, you know, that's valuable data. That's maybe you need to speed your retrieve up to get the fish more fired up. Maybe you need to change the angle of your presentation. But ultimately, you know, man, I think there were a couple of years where I was convinced that it had to be a strip set.
Oh, yeah.
And the amount of trauma and gaslighting that I did to my clients is kind of bad.
Right. But you figured that out. So it's not a strip set. Definitely not a strip set.
I mean, it can be.
Oh,
it can be.
Yeah.
The challenge with a strip set in the dark, it's the timing. It's the timing that's the most important thing. You know, the timing and the pressure. So like if I have a good angler that wants to strip set and knows how to manage their line so they're not going to have too much slack, so when they get a strike, they can strip set, oh, go ahead. The timing's got to be right though. And then when it comes to trout sets, like if you just jump in my boat and we're fishing and you ask me how you should set the hook, just trout set. Because if you have to pick one 100% of the time, you can always take out a lot of slack with a trout set. You know, the hooks on my flies are really not that big, and a trout's mouth is not that hard. And so you can drive a hook home. If you can get a size 2 salmon fly hook in the fish, you can also get a mouse into the fish. So, I mean, it's a pretty hard hook set, delayed, right, to wait for the fish to eat the fly, but hard. So,
yeah. Okay. And are most of your flies, do they have foam on them somewhere?
yeah, they've all got foam.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah, bunch of foam. So they hopefully just barely float. You don't want too much foam because then it makes it harder for the fish to eat it.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, a little bit. And I'm looking at some of your flies now. I'm looking at the Ninja Mouse fly. It looks awesome. You've got a bunch to talk about that. What is, just on the fly design, how did you go into creating these things? And are there more similarities or differences between your patterns?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's all what I mentioned earlier, which is problem solving on the water problems off of the water. The Ninja Mouse is a response to wanting to create a fly that has an enormous profile in the water, but yet it's easy to cast. That fly is a horrible, painstaking process to tie, using a ridiculous amount of really high quality schlappen feathers to make it.
Schlappen, yeah.
But it casts really, really well. It feels like a much smaller fly. It's like over 2 inches wide in the water and over 4 inches long, and it casts pretty well. So like that's a fly that I actually like that one a lot for Idaho stuff. Black seems to work pretty well. A lot of our western streams and places with murkier water. It's a really good fly for casting underneath bushes and trees because it doesn't carry as much weight in the air. And so it's easier to get the like normal casting mechanics of fly casting to go underneath stuff.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. And it looks like most of your flies also they have foam, but are there deer hair on some of your flies or?
No deer.
Yeah, no deer. Yeah, you don't do the
No deer. Yeah, it's all synthetics.
That's cool.
Except for the schlappen mouse, which uses, the Ninja is schlappen.
Yeah, schlappen, right. Yeah, everything else is synthetics. The trap, the trap chubby, I guess that's not necessarily a mouse, but it's
not even. Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, like, really, is it a mouse? I mean, at some point, it's not really about the mouse, right? Like, these flies they do imitate the profile of a mouse for the most part, but we're not imitating mice. I'm not in the business of imitating mice. We're in the business of pushing a trout's buttons. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes you can make going into mouse fishing is start thinking about mouse behavior. Just forget it. Forget about mice, right? Forget about mice, and honestly, even forget about the frogs, unless the fish are super keyed in on them, right? Which frogs would be the other thing that the trout are really, if a trout is keyed in on your fly, it's probably from frogs or mice. But it doesn't matter, right? Like, think about the fish. Be thinking about the fish's behavior, what the fish wants to see, not what his food does, what he wants his food to do.
Yep. Which is run and then stop for him to eat it.
Run and then stop. Yeah, sit right in front of him. Oh, look at me. I'm dangling. Oh, sometimes it's like a straight upstream retrieve. Just like be creative from the perspective of don't limit yourself to imitating a mouse.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
I had a conversation frequently. It was like, this is an interesting one. People will be like, well, yeah, I don't want to cast out into the middle of that big, deep river because there's not going to be any mice out there.
Right.
That doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Right. It's all about the fish.
Yeah. Okay. So if you were fishing, let's say you're on a river, it could be any river, big water. You fish the banks a lot in the daytime. You've seen some big fish. You go up there at night with, the mouse pattern here. Would you be, let's just say it's a fast water out there and you got a pool upstream. Could you just cast upstream against the banks and then slowly let it strip down to you? Talk about that, some different water types.
Yeah. I mean, so let's say you're wading. Typically, my wading approach is going to be a mostly downstream fishing. And that could be like I'm standing in the middle of the river casting to the bank and like doing short casts, casting it in, wiggling it out, doing one pause, letting it sit for 4 seconds, picking it up and going back in. Maybe I'm standing on the bank, I'm casting out I'm doing kind of a swing, right? I'm swinging the fly, but I'm interrupting my swing by lifting the rod tip and dropping it so that I create short dead drifts, which are opportunities for the fish to get the fly in his mouth. For the wading angler, that would probably be the tactic I would recommend.
Yeah, lift the rod tip to kind of kill it and then drop it slowly to make it just dead drift.
Yeah, drop it at the speed or slightly faster than the water's taking the
waters.
taking the line.
And could you fish these in all water types, pools, riffles, glides, everything?
Really, yeah, you could. I mean, it's going to be so spot specific. There are places where the fish really are like, oh, inside bends, that's the spot. But that's not a hard, fast rule. I mean, your stream, it might be that they're on the cut banks like they would be in the daytime. So who knows? I mean, you kind of have to, that's part of the fun, right? Is it's like, well, you might know this stream intimately well, and you turn the lights off and it's going to look completely different. It's going to feel completely different. The fish behavior is different. It's a cool thing.
Wow, this is cool. Well, I want to get a few more tips from you here, but I'm going to slowly start to take it out of here with our Fly Shop Friday segment here today. And I want to hear, well, first off, let's give a shout out to Patagonia, today's sponsor here. They're Swift Current waders. We're going to give a big shout out to them today because they support the podcast. I just want to say first on the Fly Shop Friday, I have a couple things I always say first, like what is your closest fly shop? And then for you, we'll talk gear a little bit as well. But what is that for you? Do you have, and I guess you got Idaho Falls and we're talking the White River. Are there a couple of good shops in both locations?
Yeah. I mean, the shop that I grew up going to was Jimmy's All Seasons Angler.
Oh yeah. Jimmy's, which is Fly Fish Food now, right?
Fly Fish Food now. Yeah. Those guys are great. Honestly, I don't know of another fly shop that I've ever been to that is as likely to have what I'm looking for. They just have everything.
Yeah, that's the perfect, right? That's the cool thing about when we did an episode with, I think it was Curtis. He mentioned, I asked him about that, like, what did Jimmy's, and it was your great fly tying fly shop, right?
Yeah.
Lots of materials that can add everything.
Yeah, Cheech and Curtis have even expanded on
it. They have.
I mean, maybe doubled, maybe more. Yeah, my buddy AJ is one of the guys over there, and it's great. That shop's awesome. They're super nice, super helpful. They've got what you need. So
yeah, that's great. Okay, perfect. So you got Jimmy's, and then on the other end, are there? I know there was one big shop there on the White that's gone now. Or is there still one?
Yeah,
there
so there was a shop called Dally's that shut down. It's kind of been replaced by a shop called Diamond State Fly Co.
Yeah, Diamond State.
They're really nice. I like them.
Yeah,
they are still expanding their new fly shop, but one of the great things about a new fly shop is they've got all the energy, they've got all the excitement. You know, they're not burned out on it. Those guys are great. So super nice. Yeah,
that's awesome. Okay, so there's our fly shop. There's our Fly Shop Friday shout out on that. And then on the gear, what's your gear? Let's just talk wader. Are you wearing waders much on the boat? Are you a big wader guy? What's that look like?
Yeah, I am, and that's on the White. It's because even though we're not getting out of the boat, it's so foggy and wet. You know, you got to stay dry. And we're ready to jump out of the boat to take pictures of big fish.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Okay. And are you I'm guessing, well, there's a few different wader types. What's your go-to wader?
I'm wearing Orvis these days.
Yeah. Orvis. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. There's a bunch of great, that's a cool thing, right? Like all products, there's great brands that are doing great stuff. And Orvis is another great company as well. So, well, let's get a couple tips here. So we've been talking, mousing, but you don't have to think mouse. But what would be a few tips you give somebody? They've listened today and they're thinking, okay, I'm going to go out in the water. I'm going to try to get my first fish on a mouse type of pattern. What are you telling them?
Yeah, I would say just go into it with an open mind. I mean, it's a totally different process than your daytime fishing. So go into it with an open mind. The other thing I would say is really just try to war game this situation. Pick this water apart. Create a plan that makes sense. And what I mean by that is like find a spot where it's like, okay, well, like I already know there's these fish here. I already know there's fish. I've caught fish in the daytime in the spot. I know there's a lot of nice fish. I know they hang out in this shallow water where it's crystal clear and da-da-da-da-da. Like create that plan. Don't just go out and what I would not recommend is don't just jump in the drift boat and do a float hoping to catch fish on mice. Be really methodical about it. Like pick that water apart. Try 3 different flies and try 3 different presentations with each one. And what you might find is The fish want you to be retrieving that fly straight back upstream, doing a long cast downstream. It does not make sense, but that's what they want, you know?
Like actually going against the current, like it's swimming upstream.
Maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want a long dead drift. You know, I've been fishing in some spots where it's like, oh man, you literally just cast the mouse out and just let it sit. Sounds dumb.
Yeah. Right.
The fish doesn't think so.
No. And they can see it, right? That's the cool thing about nighttime. Even on a dark night, do you find that fish can still see everything?
Man, as long as the water's clear, it's amazing how well they can see. And then that would be the other tip is mouse fish clear water. If your water clarity fluctuates a lot, just fish it when it's clear. And if it's a river that's not clear, chances are it's not going to be very good. Lake, river, if it's not clear, your odds of being super successful on a mouse are very low.
Very low. Okay. And we talked a lot. I mean, we were thinking today streams, but would the whole thing be different if we were fishing a lake as far as what we talked about today?
Yeah. I mean, you have more flexibility because the current's not fighting you as far as your presentation goes. But yeah, truthfully, Dave, I think most of the best mouse fishing in the entire country is in still waters.
Yeah, it is. God, and it's mouse too. And like you said, it doesn't have to be necessarily exactly imitating a mouse, but something on the surface. And you don't think about still water as much as surface because there's not as many aquatic insects that are hatching. There a lot of stuff we've talked about is below, but you're saying that you can fish these big guys just like we're talking today and catch them on the surface.
Totally, yeah. What's interesting is fishing still waters, I've found more mice like in still waters, either swimming or floating dead on the surface or around the bank. They're all over them. You know, so like if you want to find a trout that's actually keyed in on eating mice, you have a pretty good chance of doing it at a still water. You know, you can cross a lot more fish too, right? Like you go fish a lake, you can cover a little bit of water and your fly is crossing a lot of fish.
Right. That makes total sense.
You know, so you're stacking the odds compared to fishing a stream where like you're hoofing it.
Yeah.
You're beating your feet to try to cross a fish.
Right. So if you're out west, I mean, there's lots, like you said, lots of tailwaters, but finding a good still water. And like you said, Idaho Falls has tons of still water. Do you think you could do this out there pretty well?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So that might be your better bet. Instead of starting the South Fork Snake, maybe find a still water and give it a shot there.
Totally. And you're way less likely to be, you know, gored to death by a moose or eaten by a mountain lion at a still water.
Right. During the night. So, it's still during the night though, right? Still water still during the night.
Yeah. Yeah. There are situations where you definitely could get them in the daytime, but it's really, for me, mousing is a nighttime endeavor.
Yeah. Where would you, if somebody's listening, where would they take this further? You know, like, so we didn't talk about still waters in depth. Do you have resources out there? What do you tell somebody?
Man, I wish there were better resources out there. I'm in the very beginning stages of working on creating some media, whether it's a book or,
oh, nice,
you know, stuff like that. But really, I think part of the fun of this is that the information's not out there.
No.
Right? Lewis and Clark it up, you know?
Yeah.
Point your canoe upstream and start paddling.
That's right. Yeah, go over Shears Falls and let all the Native Americans watch you. They're laughing as you're going over.
Just go for it. That's what's so fun about this. Find somebody that shares your passion and enthusiasm and go out there and do something nobody's done before, which is such an awesome experience.
This is exciting. No, I think this is really cool because like you said, I mean, we've talked lots of still waters and this is the first time this has come up, I think, that I know of on mousing in the still waters, right? So
yeah.
And there's not necessarily going to be a big book out right now. You can't go out and just find, whatever the book is on it.
Well, the information's not out there. And there are people who are doing it, but they're tight-lipped about it. You might be able to find someone on social media if you find pictures of fish that, you know, are at night and look like they're from a still water. You might be able to pester them into giving you some tips, but yeah, I mean, Pyramid Lake even, right? Like it's closed at night. We can't night fish there.
Oh, it is. You can't night fish.
We have an hour before sunrise to an hour after sunset. And I have caught fish from Pyramid on mice in that time frame, you know. The one I was really excited about, I caught a 12-pound Lahontan on a mouse right at dark. It was a rainy day, so it was raining. And the fish were on the shoreline. I think it was January. I was actually, I was dragging my fly behind me. I was trying to cover water, right? Because it's like, I have this 25-minute window. I need to just beat feet and cover as much water as possible. I was walking down the beach. I jumped off this rock. I'm dragging my rod behind me and just got destroyed. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So you never know.
I mean, yeah, all bets are off. The fish was 5 feet from shore in a place you would never fish in the daytime.
Yep.
But he was there and he was hungry.
What's the biggest fish you've kind of caught or seen out there, caught on the mouse, sort of on your stuff?
So the biggest fish I had a client catch was a 20-pound, 3-ounce brown out of the white.
Oh, the white.
Yeah.
20 pounds. So you broke and how many inches was that 20 pounder, you think?
It was 33. I mean, that fish was morbidly obese.
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, it was insane.
And what fly did it take?
That one ate a variation of the Ninja Mouse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Variation of the Ninja. And how were you fishing? What was were you fishing a pool or what was that?
Yeah, it was, the fish was in front of a big rocky, sort of a tail out where it was just hiding from the current. Flow was dropping.
Yeah.
And so the fish was between spots.
Flow was dropping. And were you dead drifting it?
No, it was, essentially it was the client. It was my good friend, Nate. He had cast the bank and pulled his fly out, one pause, and glow tab went away. Sounded like a regular little fish. Set the hook, and yeah, it was pure chaos.
Nice. Nice. And is casting your flies or big flies, this is a challenge, or any tip there on the casting?
Just slow down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, mouse flies it's like it's like the speed limit is governed on them. As far as line speed goes.
Yeah.
We have this tendency with a lot of guys, fish streamers especially, like they want to just really accelerate their cast and shorten their casting stroke. The mouse fly, like, it's only going to go so fast. So if you just slow down and let the rod load, you can actually shoot a lot of line, but you can't force it to go any faster. You just have to wait a long time for that thing to turn over. Because they're flies that inherently it's a big fly that floats. It's a density issue, so
yeah,
a lot of buoyancy.
Nice. Well, I think definitely there's more we could chat about here. We might have to leave that for maybe the next episode, or if we can get you on doing a webinar or something like that, we could talk more. But I think how we could leave it there and send everybody out to trouttrapflies.com if they want to follow up with you on your trips or your flies. Does that sound good for next steps? And any other last words before we hop out of here?
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, my 2026 calendar is open. I've got quite a few good openings still for somebody who wants to come out and learn it all from me. I mean, there's a lot more than you can cover in an hour podcast. So
totally. It now is on the white, or if somebody calls you, if they were in Idaho or around the country, where would they be fishing, or how does that look?
Yep. I only guide on the white.
Yeah. Only on the white. Yeah. Gotcha. So they can connect with the white. And the best time on the white is, because you can fish it year round. Is there a best time, or?
June to September.
June to September.
Yep. That's my season. I keep it short. I'm not trying to burn myself out. So
yeah. June to September. And then what are you doing after September? You're back. You're not doing as much tying, but what are you doing? Where are you fishing the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, the fly business, it's more work than you would think. It's a lot of production-oriented things. I do fish a lot.
Nice.
I am very fortunate.
Nice. Good.
I get to spend a lot of time with my wading boots wet.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Awesome, Kyle. Well, thanks again for all the time. And we'll be in touch, and looking forward to getting some of those flies on the water.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
We mentioned it right there. You can go to trouttrapflies.com or head over to Instagram, trout_trap. Right now, checking with Kyle. As you heard it, you can't find a ton of these resources out there right now. At least he doesn't know of them. So check in with him if you have any questions about taking this further. I think Stillwater is one definitely I would love to hear more about. Maybe we'll check back if we get enough feedback on this one. Let Kyle know you heard this podcast as well. And if you want to get some more information on this, you can check in with me anytime, dave@wetflyswing.com. Next episode is amazing. We've got tomorrow, Nelson Ishiyama is here to talk about Henry's Fork angling. He's the owner of the Henry's Fork Lodge. And we get into a great episode tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And also just want to give you a big heads up. The Atlantic Salmon Fly fishing trip is going right now. If you're interested, if you want to check with me, if we have any spots available, send me an email, dave@wetflyswing.com. I already mentioned it. This is the big trip to Newfoundland, where we're going to be fishing the famous waters that Lee Wolf fished. You're going to be flying in to the same area and hopefully getting into a bunch of great fish for Atlantic salmon, one of the bucket list trips on the swing. That's Newfoundland Mountain Waters Resort. check in now, and I'm going to let you get out of here. I hope you're having a great morning. And if it's afternoon, I hope it's a great day for you. And if it's evening, enjoy it. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode. We'll talk to you then.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com.